A former soldier accused of scaling a security fence and getting into the White House made his initial appearance in federal court today. Omar Gonzalez of Texas now faces charges of unlawfully entering a restricted building while carrying a weapon, a folding knife with a 2.5-inch serrated blade. Gonzalez allegedly sprinted more than 70 yards across the North White House lawn and entered a door before being apprehended on Friday. And on Saturday, authorities arrested a different man who tried to drive past a barricade entrance. The Secret Service is now investigating Friday's security breach. The nation is asking, how could this have happened? In the book, Within Arm's Length, former Secret Service agent Dan Emmett gives an inside account of protecting the president, and he joins us now via Skype. Dan, it's good to talk to you again. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Debbie.
I think as people have watched this video that surfaced in the last day or so, most reaction is just shock. How could this happen? When you heard about this, Dan, how surprised were you?
Well, it was the first thing that I saw when I woke up Saturday morning in the headlines, and I was astounded to see that someone, not so much they had jumped the fence, that happens fairly regularly, but that he had actually crossed the entire length of the North grounds and entered the White House. I was further astonished to see that lethal force was not used when it was apparent he was going to try and come in the front door.
Dan, I want to jump in right there. My assumption is protecting the most powerful man in the free world, the President of the United States, is a very serious job that is taken seriously. So my assumption is if any unknown individual would go over the fence at the White House and charge toward the White House, that shooting first and asking questions later would be the standard operating procedure. Is that not it?
No, you don't actually begin with lethal force, although that is your final option. There are a lot of things that can be done between the time he came over the fence and the time he entered the door. You do have K-9, you do have emergency response teams, so verbal commands followed by physically taking the individual down with less than lethal. But if those things fail and he continues to progress towards the front door, once it's apparent he's not going to stop, then lethal force is justified, and I believe in this case it should have been employed.
What went wrong here, do you think?
Well, that's a very good question. Obviously, there were no uniform division officers. There was no UD presence on the White House grounds on the north side, or they would have taken him down. Somewhat like they did the fence jumper back on 9/11 of this year. That was really a textbook case of how a fence jumper should be handled. He was immediately tackled, and the dogs came after him that are trained specifically for that. Where these assets were, I don't know. And those are some of the things that Director Pearson is obviously going to be asked when she appears before various members of Congress in the following weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure a full and thorough investigation will commence as a result of this. But initially, the statement from the Secret Service was that the reason this gentleman Gonzalez was not shot is because he was not deemed to be a threat, to be carrying a weapon. How does that hit you?
Not very realistically. When a person is advancing on you like Mr. Gonzalez did, when he was running towards the north portico with the intent of gaining entry, it's not possible to know whether he is armed or whether he is not armed. And so he could have had any number of weapons on his person, to include a suicide vest. None of those things were known until he was actually taken down. But he should never have made it to that point. He should have been stopped by whatever means necessary prior to entering the building.
So it could be that there were procedures in place that perhaps were not or could not be followed for whatever reason. We really don't know. We're on the outside speculating. But you were on the inside. You were a Secret Service person for more than 20 years. What systemic changes do you think needs to be made to prevent something like this from happening again?
Well, from a physical standpoint, they may have to redesign the fence system. They may have to create larger buffer zones so that it would take an individual even longer to get to the mansion than it did Mr. Gonzalez. In terms of training, perhaps the Secret Service might want to consider coming up with some very strict guidelines, shoot, no shoot guidelines, that when an individual crosses this particular line, lethal force should be employed. In the end, however, it's always going to be the agent or the officer with the gun in his hand who is going to have to make that final decision whether to pull the trigger or not.
Well, it is indeed a head scratcher, and I'm sure something's going to change, if not someone's job. Dan Emmett, we're going to have to leave it right there for now. It's always good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.